Ooh, last week we talked about identity and we talked about the Dredd Scott decision. I want to do more. I want to talk more about the Dredd Scott. All right. And so what I did. This is Wikipedia. This is a list of abrogated United States Supreme Court decisions. Okay. It says this is a list of decisions of the United States Supreme Court that have been abrogated. Superseded. That's how they say the Dredd Scott was superseded. Some people say overruled, and that's not true. Superseded. That have been abrogated, superseded in whole. This is the big part here. In whole or in part. So, one thing that we need to understand about the Dredd Scott, which was a Supreme Court case that was superseded or abrogated. When you use the word abrogated or superseded, it gives you an option. You get the option to either in whole or in part. Okay? And what happens is a subsequent constitutional amendment comes in and it changes. So it says by subsequent constitutional amendment or congressional statute, this list does not include the decisions overruled by the subsequent Supreme Court decision. So listen. Overruled and superseded or abrogated are different. Okay? We're getting ready to look at a list of only superseded cases, and the list does not. I just want to be clear, okay? Because when I'm preparing you for your powers to go up against all these lawyers and this, that, and the other, we're gonna tell you, oh, the Dredd Scott was overruled. This, that. You can say, no, it was not overruled. It was superseded. And when it is something that's superseded, it is done in whole or in part. Alright, so let's click on Constitutional Amendment. It's going to give us only 5 minutes, only 5 times in the history of this country where a Constitution amendment was superseded, a court case was superseded by a constitutional amendment. Only 5 times. All right. Ours, in particular, what we want to focus on is Dredd Scott versus Sanders. But I would love for you guys to even take a look at the rest of it, because it's going to show you how this whole, in whole or in part, works. Right? The abrogating amendment. The amendments that came and changed something in the Dredd Scott were the 13th Amendment and the 14th. And the summary of the topic of the amendment was slavery and involuntary servitude, citizenship rights and protection of law. So, let's go to Dredd Scott versus Sanders. We're going to go to the whole. And we've been here before. We're going to go again. Because this case is so important. This is the whole that was superseded. So we can look at this and we can say, alright, from this holding, 1, 2, 3, and then this right here at the top, judgment reversed and suit dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Alright. Persons of African descent cannot be nor ever intended to be citizens under the U.S. Constitution. Plaintiff is without standing to file suit. We know that the 14th Amendment is one of the amendments that changed the Dredd Scott. But how? How did it change? The 14th Amendment was the offer of citizenship. Now, how do we know that the 14th Amendment didn't just change blacks into citizens? Well, the first part of the holding says judgment is reversed and the suit dismissed for lack of jurisdiction, which means that the Supreme Court of the United States of America does not have the jurisdiction over persons of African descent, meaning that persons of African descent are not citizens under the Constitution of the United States, and persons of African descent do not fall within the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Because of this, the judgment was reversed and the suit was dismissed. Okay, so one thing we have to maintain when we try to understand this is that persons of African descent before the 14th Amendment were not citizens. Persons of African descent are not citizens. But again, when the 14th Amendment changed, it changed this holding. Why? Okay. Here's the key word in this whole thing. Nor were ever intended to be citizens. Well, laws change intentions. I can change my intention without giving you anything. So this is really the brilliance of how they used the 13th Amendment. Only offers you citizenship, but because you weren't their citizens, they couldn't make you a citizen. So watch this 14th Amendment. Citizenship, rights, and equal protection at the law. When the 14th Amendment was passed, you can no longer say that the country didn't intend for blacks to be citizens. So all I'm doing is I'm showing you which part of this case changed. What is the abrogated part or the superseded part? And the first one that I'm pointing out to you is that intentions of blacks to be citizens of the United States changed with the 14th Amendment. And so this is part of this holding. Because remember, the abrogated or superseded case can have whole or part of its holding changed through constitutional amendment. So the first part I need you guys to understand is that one, Dredd Scott was superseded. That means only part of the holding is replaced. And then I need you to understand what part changed. And the part where it says nor were ever intended to be changed when the 14th Amendment was offered to non-citizens or persons of African descent. So that's the first part, because it shows you two pieces. You come up here and it says abrogated decision, and it gives you the amendments that change something. It gives you 14 and 13. I just showed you the first part. The 14th Amendment changed one small part of the Dredd Scott. It changed the intentions of the country. So now they can no longer say nor were ever intended to be. Alright, that's the first part. Now, does this change whether or not persons of African descent are citizens now? No, they are not citizens now. You were offered citizenship, and the only way that you can accept it and to be a citizen is to leave African descent or black. That's what we teach you. And it's the second part to this that I need you guys to understand too. They used the 13th Amendment. And I've taught you that the 13th Amendment did not ban slavery totally. I'm going to show you something here. Because slavery works a couple different ways. Alright? You can ban a part of slavery, but not all the slavery. And watch this. Our country was set up and copied after Rome. Okay? And so our system of law is borrowed from Roman law. Now, you understand who we borrowed from, and you start to understand that if you want to understand our country better, study Rome. Alright, now. Capitis diminutio maxima. Okay. This is referring to the extinguishing either in whole or in part of a person's former status and legal capacity. Give me a second. Give me 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. I have something to go to my door. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. All right. Now, we borrow from Rome this caste system. This caste system breaks up society into 3 major parts. This is legal capacity within a country. You got capitis diminutio maxima, capitis diminutio media, and capitis diminutio minima. Now, this is what I want to show you about the 13th Amendment. Capitis diminutio maxima, the greatest, involved the loss of liberty, citizenship, and family. For example, being made a slave or a prisoner of war. Now, in ancient times, slavery was 2-part. Okay, it's the same level or the same status, slave or prisoner, but you come to this position in different ways. Okay? A slave can be made involuntarily. Okay? But a prisoner is a voluntary slave. Okay? So when our 13th Amendment, our 13th Amendment only got rid of one type of slavery. That's the involuntary servitude. So look, if slavery, and they're showing you that slavery is 2-part, because they said that the United States abolished involuntary servitude, meaning that there has to be another type. It's context, please. You don't use the word like involuntary, meaning that voluntary is okay. The 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, okay? Except as punishment for a crime. Boom. Okay, so when they say the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, it only abolished slavery that was involuntary. But you can voluntarily be a slave in this country, and that's if you commit a crime. So let's go back to our aggravated case. Slavery and voluntary servitude. Let's go back to Dredd Scott and the whole. Okay, due process clause in the 5th Amendment prohibits the federal government from freeing slaves brought into federal territory. We know that Abraham Lincoln had to pay reparations to D.C. residents when he freed their slaves. Because the federal government, through the due process of the 15th Amendment, are not supposed to do that, he had to pay. The property clause is only applicable to lands at the time of ratification. As such, Congress cannot ban slavery in the territories. Missouri Compromise is unconstitutional. Okay? Congress cannot ban slavery in the territories. Well, Congress did ban slavery, but it was only a form of slavery. So, when we're looking at this holding, we can look at the property clause and we can say part of the property clause changed too with the 13th Amendment. Why? Because involuntary slavery was abolished. And so it said Congress cannot ban slavery in the territories. It didn't ban all of the slavery, it just banned a form of slavery. And so this still stands. Congress can't ban slavery totally. They can just change the rules to slavery a little bit, but slavery still remains. So I just wanted to do a little bit of more research or get more into the Dredd Scott, because people are going to try to say the Dredd Scott is overruled. Number one, you can stop them right there and say that superseded and abrogated is different from overruled, because some part of the decision is still true because it was abrogated. If it was overruled, everything is done. But because it was abrogated or superseded, that means we need to look at that holding and we need to understand what is still true and what is not. And that's what we are doing as we get more and more into the depth. Not just surface, but we want to get all the way into this. So you cannot be steered in any other way. Now, let's see. A lot of you guys are going to be up against people saying, well, y'all talking like y'all white, y'all don't look white. I found this article on the old interweb. One of the things that we're going to have to do as a group is we have to divorce race and skin color. So many people think race and racism is about somebody being able to obviously see your skin color. But we as a group, in teaching people what this is about, one of our main things is going to be taking people out of this. You think you know my race by seeing me. You know it ain't about skin color, it's about citizenship, it's about legal capacity. Another thing I want us to, I went and I just started to pull up some headlines, because once you understand things like we understand them now, you can't even look at the news the same. Headlines don't mean the same thing anymore. This is an article back in 2016, right? And you know the way we understand race is that you're born with race. And some of us, the way we understand race, we think race comes to us from the beginning of time. Like, you black now, and you always was black, and your ancestors all the way back to the beginning of time were black. I pulled this out because when we start to understand things differently, headlines don't even mean the same thing to us. It's official Hispanic is now a race. Well, the first thing I thought of the understanding that we have now is, what more proof do you need that race is constructed? In 2016, we got an article that says now it's official that Hispanic is now a race. This is just showing you that this race is a game being played on the people, and they can make people a race, take them out of a race, put them in a race. All of this is just, this game's being played on this. It's a con. We got to be able to see the con for what it is. Here's another one. When I talk about this, and people be like, blacks ain't citizens, that's ridiculous. They be trying to really make it seem like there's no research involved in this. But I'm just going to pull up some articles in recent history. Last one was 2016, this one was 2015. When Huckabee was running for president, what does it say? Huckabee claims black people are technically citizens, doing a critique of unjust laws. Now look, I'm making a bold statement that's saying blacks aren't citizens. I'm showing you Dredd Scott, all types. I've showed you how you can go down to the Social Security office and change your race. Some people think, I'm talking about very, very smart, degree people, when they hear blacks aren't citizens, they're like, yeah, right. Whatever. That is the dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, in 2015, a guy running for president has an article that says he claims black people aren't technically citizens. All right, so this isn't Jelani saying it. This is somebody running for president that is showing you, probably by mistake, that you are not a citizen. So I like to go into history, ancient history, 18s, 60s, and 50s, and all that to prove my point. But let's go into the 2000s and see some of these articles are showing you that's backing me up when I say that you're not in a position of citizenship as a black. Let's look at another one. National Public Radio. This is NPR.
Hey, Jelani?
Yes, ma'am.
Right quick, I remember literally when he said that, like,
Huckabee?
I literally remember when he said it. I was like, wait a minute, he said, and in addition, we said, well, you know, the Dredd Scott is law of the land. I was like, okay, he's saying something here.
He said Dredd Scott is the law of the land. Listen, man, so this is not an overruled.
He sure did, yeah.
It's not overruled. This is what I need y'all to understand. Dredd Scott was not overruled. Do not let somebody come in here and tell you it was overruled. It was superseded, and we need to know why. What does that mean? Okay, parts of this is real, is true to this day, and Mike Huckabee, in his own words.
Yeah, he said it out of his own mouth. Black ain't citizen. I was like, wait a minute, what? What? Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, now here we go. Now, what I've been trying to explain to you is that as a black, you're not a citizen either. What I'm trying to explain to you is the exact position that you find yourself in when you're black. You are in the middle. It's called capitis diminutio media. Consists of a loss of citizenship and family name without the forfeiture of personal liberty. You have personal liberty, but you are an exploited class. The reason why you can be exploited is because you're not a citizen. Okay. How does exploitation look? Well, everybody wants you to understand and believe that racism is about white people hating on black people. Okay? Everybody wants you to understand that white people are the source to racism. Okay? But I disagree. I've forgotten the history of how the U.S. government segregated the earth. When we think about segregation and how we learn it, we think white people decided that they don't want to live with blacks. Okay? That's the narrative. Yet, the history shows more of government being responsible for it. Okay? Now, here we got, you are two people, you got different skin colors, but you culturally the same. Right? Eventually. And it ain't going to take too much time. If the laws are equal to both of you, you're going to live together, eat together. Nothing's going to stop you from becoming one. But if that's not the goal, if your country isn't constructed for you to do that, then the country has to use its tools to create the society that it wants. Okay? I want y'all to take a deep breath. And I want you to understand that racism is not the individual white person not wanting to be around you or to live with you, or they don't like you. True racism is state sponsored. And when we look at changing the current atmosphere in our country that racism dominates, we need to understand that it's government sponsored, and whenever we do something to change it, it has to be done on a grand scale, and it has to affect the way the government sees the people. Okay. Checking white changes how the government has to treat you. One, because you're a citizen. Two, because you're not separated from the people that they're trying to get the privilege to. I brought this article up because I want to reiterate the fact. Let me just let it know. If anything, I want you guys. There's two things. I want you guys to get your citizenship by checking white, but I also want you to stop hating white people, because you're going to find people if your attitude changes about who they are and how they can be valuable to you, and you actually see yourself through them, is when you really make the change that check white is supposed to be about. Mapping the geography of racism. Okay? This is talking about red line. And this article tells you how the racial categories give the government the data necessary to make the analytical changes to the country. This is how they do it. And it's not individual white people who go to work and go to school and work next to you, that's right beside you, that live in the house across the street. They're not the catalyst for the racist society that we're in. This is government sponsored. And the government has the right to do so because you're not one of its citizens.
Excuse me.
Yes.
On that note, is the government that you're describing against our group run by particular people putting these laws into place?
Okay.
Human beings are putting these laws into place.
Human beings.
With a certain mindset.
Human beings are putting these laws into place. Okay. The opportunity to put these type of laws into place comes from the 14th Amendment offers you citizenship, but we didn't check white or establish any whiteness at the time. Okay. The opportunity to do this comes from us not accepting the citizenship. Okay. So I like to look at this as business. Okay. In business, you try to take advantage of every opportunity that you can. Okay. It's just business, as people say. So we had an opportunity to be citizens. We did not know how to exercise that opportunity. And because it's just business, people are taking advantage of the opportunity given to them by us not taking our opportunity to citizenship. So when I look at this, I'm saying to myself, is this an evil, diabolical, or is this somebody taking an opportunity from, exercising an opportunity that was given to them by people not, exercising the opportunity of citizenship? They're not going to tell you, right? And even if they tried, I'm someone who has been trying to teach black people that they're not black. Some people might try, but us as an audience don't want to hear nobody telling us who we are. So even if they tried to tell you, it probably wouldn't work. And so what's happening is they like, hey, this is the way it is. He's an exploited class. I'm just going to try. I only live for 60 years. I'm just going to deal with the system the way it is. I ain't trying to change it. I'm actually benefiting from the way things work. And that's if somebody understood. I think that our education system in this country is done in a way that everybody is calm in order to get white supremacy. Everybody must be calm in order for white supremacy to work. So when we talk about individuals who may understand this at the top, we're talking about 1% or less, because the secret must be maintained for it to last. That means everybody got to be lied to in order for it to continue to work. And all of the numbers and analytics and all of this hide the fact that whites are the only citizens and everybody that's non-white isn't. Does that make sense, Lil?
Yes, but a million questions just came and flooded into my mind. Let me sort it out.
Okay.
So we need to, the government, which it is not just something floating around in the air, it's actually human beings that formed this way of operating, the masses of people, put this together for their advantage, but the mess of those groups, of that group, is not participating in establishing these exploitive laws. Our next door neighbor, of course, is a member of that group, and they benefit from that, being the
beneficiaries of white privilege.
Yes, the beneficiaries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still people doing this. So we're on the receiving end of the mistreatment and
the system was created hundreds of years ago. Okay, watch this. Let's do a history lesson. And when our country was constructed, it was a known slave-holding society. Then, with our Reconstruction and our Civil War, supposedly the American system changed from a slave-holding society to an everybody's free society. Okay, now, during that time, our nation was in peril, and you had two different competing situations going on. You had one people who wanted to continue slavery, and you had another group that wanted to have everybody free. This is during the 1850s. Slavery was starting to become an issue. The world was changing. The United States wanted to continue with slavery, but it was getting pressured to stop. Okay, so the brilliance, and I say brilliance, but it's kind of devious in its brilliance, of the American system now is to try to hide the fact that we still have slaves. Okay, that's the number one thing with the Reconstruction. Reconstruction was done to try to convince the public that we're no longer a slave-holding society, when we still have to maintain this slavery. Okay, now, how did it change? Well, we took the slavery off the plantations with the 13th Amendment. Now, slavery can't be private. We changed it from private to public now, because now we can make our slaves through crime, punishment of a crime. Okay, now in American society, we have to set up this caste system now too. Before, our caste system were citizens, slaves, and everybody else. But now we got to do this in a way where everybody kind of feels like they're all a part of American society. Okay, by still maintaining that only whites are the citizens. Now, we can do this in a way that everybody knows what's going on, or we can do this in a way that everybody's kind of confused at what their position is in society. Not confused into the fact that they don't kind of really know where they stand, but confused into how this stratosphere, these levels work. How do you get to the top? Our confusion about our caste system has us creating words like white supremacy, white privilege, racism, this, that, and the other. But what's really at the core of this is that we are a society separated by maxima, media, and minimum. But the lie is that everybody's the same. We even think in this country that if you're a prisoner, you still have rights. We argue that should prisoners be able to have voting rights? You know what I'm saying? That right there is a confusion of maxima, media, minimum. Because if you knew that a prisoner was just a slave but a voluntary one, and that he loses all of his rights, loss of liberty, citizenship, everything, then we would know for sure that he don't have the rights to vote. He don't have the rights of nobody. He don't have no rights that people that are free have. But because we're confused and we think that all minimum, media, and maximum can do the same things in a society, that's the lie. That's the con. I keep bringing you back to Rome and Roman law because I need you to understand that this country is a caste system. But the information is that everybody's equal. So one of the things that we're trying to create or educate the public, one is that race ain't your skin color. Two, that we live in a caste system, and we need to understand that this is a voluntary caste, meaning you can choose the caste that you occupy. And three, this system is old and it's ancient, And people, if you are being conned from birth as to the way your system works, even if you work in the government currently, your educational background is not going to set you up in a situation where you'll be able to really understand what this country's doing. So you could be a participant in this whole con with not really understanding your part that you're playing in. And so white people or pale skinned people are playing a role in this constructed society just like blacks are. And they don't have to be in the know in order to play their part. That's the brilliance of this. You can play your part without knowing exactly what you're doing. And so, Lori, when you say, people are still operating this machine, I'm saying that the education system and what you know dictates exactly how you understand the system. And these people that are still perpetuating this system are not doing it like they know everything that I'm teaching you. They've just been educated in this country and they just are doing a role. And in their capacity, they probably don't even really understand the whole part. Does that make sense?
I'm getting there. So just like Obama was participating, but he couldn't speak on it.
Obama, see,
he's aware that he could not present the information.
When I think about Obama, right, I listened to one of his speeches. Well, one of his speeches when he was talking about his background, he said, my family background is Scott Irish. And he said my father was Kenyan. And then when he referred to Michelle, he said, and she's the descendant of the slave. Okay. In that speech, it showed me that Obama knows, one, that all dark-skinned people in this country aren't the same. Okay. He knows that all dark-skinned people don't have the same lineage. And he has to understand, too, that he is not a black in reference to black in America, descendant of the slave. That's not his lineage. As a matter of fact, his lineage in America is white. And I think he understands that. I think Obama was in a position as president of the United States, right? A public servant. Is that he was a servant to this government and its citizens. And it is a service to them for him to not give up the ghost. He's a constitutional lawyer, somebody just put. And so he should understand these things. You think Obama doesn't know the difference between overruled and superseded? Right? If you think that, and I'm glad you put that, do you think that he don't know the difference? Do you think Obama doesn't know that the source of our law in American jurisprudence is Roman law? Do you think if he wasn't on this call right now, he wouldn't understand the difference with maximum, median, and minimum? He would. He can't tell you. This information is so dangerous, what I'm telling you, because it could change this country. This is really, really, really dangerous. And the more you guys really understand it, the better we all are going to be as a society, because y'all are going to change the world when you teach this to people. One of the biggest things is that Dredd Scott case. It is so huge. And because Mike Huckabee is going to tell you straight up, you ain't no citizen in 2015, are we starting to do we look stupid now? When we talking to people like, you ain't a citizen, like, yeah, right. And, oh, you using Dredd Scott, that joint was overturned years ago. You still got people telling you, nah, technically, you ain't a citizen. So I'm glad that you was able to hear that real time in 2015 when he said those words. I'm so glad that they are giving us material. Y'all think these black and white are fixed terms? They not fixed. Do what you want. Here's an article right here. See, because when you really want to start to get into this, you say, what is the value of the black identity? Is it valuable in the United States of America? I don't know about that. This is look. On Portland banned blacks, Oregon's shameful history as an all-white state. If blacks was a position of citizenship, how could a whole state ban you? Look at this picture. Ku Klux Klan, right? What was going on in America at this time? Well, America as a country had to show the people their status in this country. They had to show you your status. So, right after the Reconstruction Amendments, 13, 14, and 15, immediately after that, you got black codes, Jim Crow, peonage. You had this whole section, in society where white only. What are they trying to teach you? What if America was trying to construct a status system, a class system? The people within the classes had to know what they could do and what they can't do. The people in the status have to know who's at the bottom and who's at the top. So during this time in American history, the government was teaching the people their status position. And so when it says white only, they're saying this right here is just for the citizen. That's the only way that you can have legal segregation, is that the people may have been biologically the same, but the difference wasn't the skin color, the difference was the status, the name, black. So, in my book right now, I'm on a chapter where I'm talking about the black identity. Is it valuable or not? And I'm arguing that the black identity is a very harmful thing when you understand what it was created to mean. It was created to mean middleman, exploited position that I could create supremacy from. It is a very, very invaluable. Oh, that makes it valuable. It's not a valuable identity. Jews struggled for decades to become white. When you understand what I'm teaching you, when you see headlines like this, they mean everything. It says Jews struggle for decades to become white. Okay, well, we struggle for decades too. This call, what I'm teaching you here, is to stop this word right here, the struggle. It's easy when you know what it's about. Okay, what are they to do? What? Become white? Why? Because it's the top class. See, now we must give up white privilege to fight racism. Well, you ain't got to give up no white privilege. The move ain't on you. You made your struggle to become white. Now you gonna stop everybody else from their struggle to do it? It's a different way now? You think it's a different way? No, ain't no different way. The same thing that you did, the struggle to become white, is the same thing everybody else gotta do. They gotta become white. I'm just picking out some articles, Let me see what it's saying. Hold up. What's holding blacks back? What's holding blacks back? This one say it's black attitudes, not white racism to blame. Well, what's holding blacks back? Right here. Capitalist diminutio media. You don't know your class. You think that you can take capitalist diminutio media and make it minimal. Nah. The only way that you can look, the classes are what they are. People move within the class, but the classes don't move. For an example, if I'm a Caucasian and I commit a crime, and then I get imprisoned. Okay, I'm a prisoner now. Well, guess what? While I'm a prisoner, I lost my liberty. I can't move and come and go as I want. I'm no longer a citizenship. And I got a number, not a name. Okay. When I get freed, when I serve my time, I go right back to minimum, capitis diminutio minimum. I get my liberty back, no loss of liberty. I got my citizenship back, and I ain't no number no more. Okay. We don't understand in American society that you move in between the class structures. You can move. You can't make the class structures mean what you want them to mean. They are set. But people can move within them. Okay. So what we're teaching you to do is to move within them. We moving you to, you were moved in the 13th Amendment from maximum of the media. What we're doing is we're moving.
Excuse me, where it says there in the media definition, loss of citizenship and family?
Back in Rome, family name was big. Family name almost meant status too. So watch this. So, you know, in America you got whites, the citizens, but then you got whites that got prestigious names, the Bushes, the this, the that. And those family names mean a lot. Okay? Now, when you lose some of your status, you lose your citizenship, you lose your family name. I think when you become a prisoner, you become a number. So you don't even have no name. But I'm going to have to do some more research into the whole Roman ancient civilization and the importance of the family names, because they meant something back then. They were status in itself. You had citizenship was status, but then you had family names, old family names, and names that of people who have through history have done great things and so on and so forth. And so that family name was huge in that Roman time too. Lori, that makes sense?
Yes, I'm just laughing to myself, remembering a black church here in the city of Baltimore who prides itself on being considered the affluent blacks, and they toss around family names all the time. The Brown, the Murphys, the Mitchells. I mean, so they're really living in paradise. It's not on their social level. It may make them feel good, but the reality is that it's a joke.
Yes.
Legislatively, you're talking legislatively, the law.
Right. That's right.
That's one level, and then we're talking about our little social world down here on.
That's right.
On the earth.
You get it.
And we're living our little fantasies. So what you're talking about is reality, and all along we're living a little fantasy. Talking about being hoodwinked. I would say this is the hoodest of hoodwinks.
You're right.
And it's like we just have to. We've got a lot of studying to do. I know for me, maybe everybody else is.
No, this is a very, very elaborate con. And again, the interesting thing about this is the ease of getting out of it. Right? I've showed you the easiest way for people to get out of it. So we had to think about this two ways. Okay, it's devious, but then it's easy to get out of. So then how do we get to this point? And I say education is at the key to this whole thing. If I control what you know, then you can live in this fantasy world that I provide for you. Even the whole time, there's some real things going on that's affecting the way you live. You're exactly right. And that's why I'm just pulling up some of these articles, these random articles, because you're understanding of the facts. You're understanding that there's some duality here. There's this fantasy world, and then there's this reality that I'm teaching you. You can't even look at the news the same. You can't even look at a regular article the same. Let me give you an example. Right? I want somebody to tell me what in the world. I thought I had pulled up an article about. Oh, here it is. Mixed race activism. You guys understand race different. You know that white means citizen and black means non-citizen, right? You know that white means citizen and non-white means not a citizen of the country. So what in the world could a mixed race be? Can somebody tell their mic off and explain to me what a mixed race is?
Are we all kind of mixed?
Well, remember, it says mixed race. Okay. And so if you're mixing a race, if you're mixing a white, right, which is a citizen, and a black, that's a non-citizen, right, then this isn't no mixed. Yeah, this isn't no. This is a. It's like a misnomer. Like it doesn't even make any sense. What is a mixed race?
Exactly.
So when we look,
it's like we're redefining everything.
On this,
redefining everything.
Everything. What does mixed race mean? So now when you out in public and people talk about mixed race and all that, like you can't even. My reactions now, like I have to be careful. I have to almost stay away sometimes because sometimes my reactions to stuff I just be wanting to scream. Like people, there's a serious issue with people in this country that are supposedly mixed and they don't know where they belong. They like whites don't accept me and then blacks I'm too light, and it's like this is about citizenship.
Right?
What we are lost. If mixed race mean a white and an Asian, that's just ridiculous. But that's education. That's propaganda for you. What does it mean? It just makes no sense when you know the truth.
And the benefit is to keep us confused like this.
Till you die. Till you're gone. Till you get high blood pressure and you're gone. You're just a battery. In this country, if you're an exploited class, I'd like for you to look at yourself as a battery. Right? What happens to batteries when you use up all the energy?
Get rid of them. They die. Get rid of them, throw them out.
They're useless, right? When the energy sucked out of them, they're useless, right? All right. An exploited class is like a battery.
So basically, mixed race is just another exploited class.
What is it? Just you understand the lie, right? You go back and you look at certain things and you like this. I can't be lied to no more. You know, race is voluntary. Anybody can be any of them. Mixed race is a choice. If race is voluntary, the only way you can be mixed is that two people chose something different.
Right.
Look at this right here. They look white but say they're black. And a tiny town in Ohio wrestles with race. Because
I think that's in Fort Jackson.
Yep.
I think that's the name of the town in Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah, Fort Jackson. It's like real tiny, and I remember seeing something on YouTube, and there was like a whole interview surrounding that.
The subtitle says many residents in East Jackson were raised.
Oh, East Jackson. I'm sorry, close.
Were raised to identify as black. Okay, but what indicates race? Is it where you live? Nope. Is it your DNA? Nope. The history you're taught? Oh. Is it the history that you taught? See, because it's voluntary, something got to make you choose what you choose. And so you being taught that it's in your DNA. It's you being taught that you was born this way. You being taught that, and now we got racist society.
And that is a waste of white. I mean, that's the deepest of ignorance right there. True.
Everybody
why would they? I mean, they're like living in some foreign land. Well, how do they stay so? Why are they thinking that?
I think
that's kind of ridiculous.
I think the biggest part of this article is, remember, I say that education is the source of this country's understanding about race. Okay, and this thing says, well, many residents in East Jackson were raised to identify as black. Or weren't you? Weren't you raised to identify as black? I was.
Yep.
Don't we teach our kids? The position of black.
When I heard James Brown singing this song, that's when my parents never talked about race in the household. So when I went out, I didn't understand anything. I was oblivious to everything. But so when James Brown came along and sang and the Black Power movement, that's when I identified.
Right. We were raised or taught. Many residents in East Jackson were raised to identify as black, meaning that their parents were responsible for their understanding of their blackness. Not science, okay? And then they asking the question, but what dictates race? Which is a great question. How the hell do you become a race in America? Did God give it to you? Is it where you live? Is it in your DNA? Is it the history you're taught? A point that I'm trying to make here is that you can teach anybody anything. And just like you were taught to be black, they were taught to be black too. Any human can be taught to be black. But we teaching you, and you can be making better decisions than that. What the Jews do? The Jews say they struggled for decades. Am I teaching y'all the way that you guys struggle for decades to get the white? No. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it Monday. But we got to look at these articles. We got to look at some of this stuff, and we got to say to ourselves, man, our understanding of race has to change everything that we understand about race in America. We can't think about it the same way. Biracial don't mean the same to us no more. It's a dumb... don't let me be in no group of people talking about biracial. I'm like this. That's the dumbest fucking concept I ever heard. How could you be black and you gonna be half citizen, half not? But you can understand why the country cared. Because if they treated people a certain way, they wouldn't want to have to deal with having half-halves. So they like, man, let's make a law that they just can't be married. So that I can continue to treat the people that's white with supremacy and the people, I need the line to be drawn. So that's why the laws reflect what they did. What were they trying to do? Stop white people, dark-skinned people from marrying pale-skinned people and dark-skinned people from... They were trying to keep a legal line between the people. That's why you had miscegenation laws. That's why you had black this, white that. Because they're trying to draw a line in the sand. It's not about skin color. It is miseducation for us to really feel like this country, for hundreds of years, we're trying to separate skin colors. That's ridiculous. And we are fools for thinking so. I'm sorry to say it. We're foolish for thinking so. But then again, I don't want to call us fools. We were taught this. Education is the reason. I blame something. Look at these people. If this don't show you that anybody can be taught to be black, this should be, for one, if you really understand that black ain't valuable, right? Some people will start feeling some type of way. Oh, black ain't valuable. But anybody can be taught to be black. So yes, you got generations of being taught that you were black, so they got some too. Totally fooled in the trick bag. They got the skin color that associates with the quote-unquote race, but it don't matter if you're taught a certain way. That's the power of education. And hopefully you can see the power of what I'm educating you. This country, you cannot wake up and go out into this country the same way once you understand citizenship and race. And that's why I'm trying to teach the leaders of tomorrow, because y'all are going to kill this subject. But it all starts here. There's a couple things that you have to get down and act. And one of them is abrogated. Wikipedia, this is a list of decisions of the United States Supreme Court that have been abrogated or superseded. in whole or in part, by a subsequent constitutional amendment or congressional statute. This does not include decisions overruled by the Supreme Court. Constitutional amendment, Dredd Scott. Everybody with a law degree will tell you Dredd Scott got overruled. False. It got abrogated or superseded in whole or in part. So we need to understand that if it was not overruled and abrogated, we need to know, was it in whole or in part? And if it's in whole and part, we need to know what part. We go down there and we see that the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment changed something in that slavery and involuntary servitude. It changed. Why? Because the 13th made involuntary servitude illegal. But you can voluntarily be a slave. So before the 13th Amendment, you had the involuntary and voluntary slavery on the books. But after the 13th Amendment, now you only had one part, and that was voluntary slavery through punishment as a crime. So the part that changed with the 13th being passed of the Dredd Scott is that you can't make a slave. Now they have to make themselves. Okay? You can't just go pick up somebody and make them their slave now. Now they have to do something in order to become a slave. Now they have to voluntarily become a slave. Voluntary servitude. And how you do that? Commit a crime. Okay? So that was one part of the Dredd Scott that changed. The other part was the 14th Amendment. Why? Because it offered you citizenship, and before you've never been offered. The part of the Dredd Scott and how the 14th Amendment changed Dredd is because they didn't make everybody a citizen, and now the Dredd Scott, no. The Dredd Scott said you were never intended to be. The 14th Amendment changed that. Prior to this the whole persons of African descent cannot be, nor were ever intended to be. But with the passing of the 14th Amendment, the word intended changed. Now you are intended to be, because you were offered citizenship. Whether you accept it or not is up to you. We need to understand that racism, if I were to write down a definition for racism, I would say racism in America stems from non-whites not understanding the offer of citizenship in the 14th Amendment. Racism is these same people did not take the offer, stayed in a position to be exploited, capitis diminutio media. And racism is the story of a people who were offered citizenship, did not accept it, stayed in the middle class for hundreds of years, and the country and its laws punishing them for not taking the opportunity presented in the 14th Amendment. Somebody say something.
There's a language in the 14th Amendment where it's offering citizenship. Is there language there that says now that it's offered?
Okay, that would make it too easy.
Done now, accepted.
It would make it too easy, Lori. Let me show you the way it works. All right. Let me go back to Dredd Scott. The way it works, Lori, is you have to be a citizen in order for the Supreme Court to decide anything that matters to you. Okay? The Dredd Scott showed that persons of African descent, blacks, are not citizens. Okay, that's number one. The first part, when they say the suit was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction, they're saying that the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over non-citizens. The Supreme Court is a court for the citizens of the United States of America. And this case was brought up by a black. And so the first thing they're saying is that the Supreme Court, as a black, you're not even in our jurisdiction. So we can't decide anything for you. We can only decide for our citizens. All right. So now, Laura, you asked, well, is there special language in the 14th Amendment that shows you that it's an offer? Well, this is how you know it had to be one or two things. Either it was an offer or it was a law that you had to, that you were under the jurisdiction of. So watch this. As a black, if you're not a citizen, any court decisions that come down from the Supreme Court don't have nothing to do with you in particular, because you're not a citizen of the country. The 14th Amendment is a law for the citizens, and it offered citizenship to you because it can't make you a citizen. You ain't one of my people, so I can't make you do nothing. Okay, so what I need you to understand when you talk about is there special language, what you have to understand, Lord, is the 14th Amendment is an amendment to the Constitution. The Constitution is for the citizens. If blacks aren't citizens, then the 14th Amendment does not apply. It doesn't compel anything of blacks. It can't compel anything. Now, the only thing it can do for people that are not within its jurisdictions or people that are not its citizens is it can offer citizenship. So, law does one or two things. It compels performance or it offers. And then in the offer, you got to accept it. So what I'm trying to explain to you, Lori, is that the law, the 14th Amendment, was written as an offer that had to be accepted. So that is the key part.
Thank you.
Yes. And somebody just said something about the Walton case setting the precedent for the Dredd Scott. Somebody's doing their homework. The Walton was 1853 and Dredd Scott was 1857. The importance of the Brown versus Walton is it was telling you the status of persons of African descent. Over and over and over and over and over again, that case was showing you that even a freed slave was not on the status of a free white. Free blacks and free whites had a diversity of rights between them. And so that is what the Brown versus Walton, it was clearly showing you what the black status means in America. And then Dredd Scott tries to try. What he's doing is the Brown versus Walton was Georgia. So that was Georgia state law. But Dredd Scott, like, I'm going to try this on a federal level. Okay, so Georgia and this court and Brown versus Walton gave you the status of blacks, and it was at the state level. And remember, the Supreme Court is a federal level. Guess what? The Supreme Court does not decide anything for blacks. Blacks' rights are decided at the state level, and that's why Georgia and that Brown versus Walton is so important, because that was done at the state level. And when you start to do research on the Supreme Court and cases brought up by blacks, you'll see that the Supreme Court is constantly sending it back to the states for the states to make the decision. Why? Because the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction. The states can decide what they do with their blacks. And that's why during the black codes and Jim Crow and all that, you had not overreaching federal laws that mandated how blacks are to be treated within every state. Each state had their own laws for their blacks. And that just shows you that blacks and their status was decided at the state level, and whites are decided at the federal level. Somebody else? I thought somebody had a question or something. Y'all see my tie? You see I try to dress up for this one. Yes, that's why Portland can ban.
What's
you see my tie? I try to dress up for this one. I was like, I always come in here looking like a bum. This time, I got a hat on and a tie. What's up, Mariah?
With the t-shirt.
With my t-shirt on, I'm a hot bama today. It's all
dress casual. That's the term now. Dress casual. Taking that to another level. Dress casual.
I don't want y'all to be paying attention to my fashion. I want you to pay attention to my words. All right? I ain't got no shape up today, and Eric told me to put on the tie. So that's the reason for the hat and tie. All right. But y'all understand what y'all feel? Do y'all feels me?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah.
That's right. And to this day, the lawful that for blacks are at the state level. Constitutional law is for the citizens. Okay. Y'all need to understand when you made that check of white, and now your law, the source of your law is federal law and the Constitution. Understand that as a black, it depends on the state's constitution of where you are.
Question about regarding state constitution. Is it fair to say that we really should be looking at state constitutions?
Not when you check white. If you stay in black, I would. If I stayed in black, I'd be trying to figure out everything I could about the state constitution where I'm at. And when you turn white,
you don't have to worry about that?
You are a federal citizen and a state citizen. And so, watch this. When you become white, any law at the state level that is in how do you say it? That's in contradiction with the federal supersedes. See, blacks don't have that. When you black, you don't have that. If a state law is a law and it you know if there's a problem with it at the federal level, blacks don't have the federal constitution to be able to go to and say, nah, this not. They don't have that because they not federal citizens. If there's any disagreement from federal or state, the federal will supersede because you're a federal student, you're a federal citizen first.
And well, to take it on and by you being would this make sense by you being white to take it to another level? Would even international law would that?
Sure. Now you're a national. See, watch this. As a black, you have no nationality. You have no nationality. You have no nation. Right? You're not a part of a nation. I said so. Yes, when you become white, you have a nationality. Your nationality, right? So I was talking to one of my Lyft drivers. Some Lyft drivers they don't want to say nothing. They just drive it. And then some of them they're
Yeah, I know. They just be driving.
Some of them will be like, man, let's have a conversation. I want to talk. So this one guy was pressing me a little bit, like, I want you to open your mouth. And I was like, I'm gonna speak. You might not like what come out, but if you keep pressing me, I'm gonna say something. Older gentleman, he was like, yeah, what you do, this, that, and the other. I was like, well, I teach people about race. He was like, oh, okay, teach me something.
Okay.
Well, I said to him, well, what's your nationality? And this is a dark-skinned guy, probably would consider himself black. He said, I'm American, proudly. I said, American? That's your nationality? He said, yeah, I'm American. I said, well, can a Mexican call themselves American too? He paused. I said, can somebody from Canada call themselves an American too? He said, where you going with this? I was like, well, a nationality is something that only the country that you in can, so it's almost like saying, so this is what I said to him. I said, if I was from Nigeria and you asked me my nationality and I say African, you look at me like I'm stupid. So now I'm looking at you like you stupid. So he's like, oh shit. He's like, okay, all right, where you going with this? I said, well, the fact that you are, and this was a 40-year-old, maybe 50-year-old, grew up in this country, born and raised, and you don't know how, you don't even know how to say citizen of the United States. You don't even know how to say, you don't even know what the United States, citizen, what the name for the nationality is. You don't know. And he was like, dang, I don't know. I said, well, in my research, the nationality for the United States of America is white. Man, he almost stopped the car. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, the only way to be a citizen in America is to be white. And so, if if I was to hide that from you, right? How would I do that? Wouldn't a part of hiding that from you mean that you don't know how to say, you don't know the nationality? And there was a long ass pause there. Just think what I asked him. I said, look, I first asked him how to say, what's your nationality? He come up with American. He literally says, he's basically saying, if he was Nigerian, he's saying African. And I got them to see that, right? So he's like, shit, now I kind of feel like a fool. Then, when pressing him on it, he really couldn't answer the question. He's an educated guy in his 40s, maybe 50. And should be a very easy question to answer. He can't answer it. Then when I tell him the answer, I say it's white. His long pause was because he's like, wait a minute. I live in a racist society, white privilege, white citizen, and you telling me that white is just a citizen? He was like, dog, is there any waste of this information? You got a website about? I was like, well, I'm actually writing a book. I'll give you a website. He was like, I need your website right now. While he's driving, he takes off the MapQuest or whatever that was, and he's on the internet typing in changeyourrace.info.
Wow.
I don't know if he's gonna stop his day, pull over, and I don't know what he's gonna do, but I know one thing. It blew him that he could not tell me his nationality. So it's a lot of different ways that you can approach people with this. Okay. One of the things about the whole Telegram is because the first part was to give you the strength to go do it. But the second part is about your experiences. I'm teaching you the most important information in the United States history, maybe in the world at the time. You're going to have some experiences with this information. There's a lot of ways that you're going to be teaching people, and where you become great is your creativeness of how to impart this information to people who are not even ready for it. You got to be creative. So that's what I'm asking you guys. I want to teach you to the level that you can use your creativity to impart this to the people who need it. The guy who drove me was probably a very smart guy. When he picked me up, I ain't look like nothing. I look like I look now. He probably looked at me like, look at this bum, he about to drop this bum off. He made me talk. And he was embarrassed in the fact that he did not know how to say his nationality. And then through that embarrassment, I was able to teach him. So I need you guys to go out and have your own experiences with this information, and you got to come back and share with the group on Telegram, on these things. Every experience that you have and you talk about is going to help somebody else that's going to be in a similar position or something. So that's why this is important.
Eli,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be meeting someone today, and she actually showed me, it might have been her birth certificate or copy of it, but she told me when she was born, they started to put white on her birth certificate, but they scratched it out and put black. So I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there are moments in your life where visual observation can be done in terms of your race. Okay. If I was to, let's do something here.
So that means the fact that they started to put white.
That's all visual. That's visual observation. Remember, everybody's got to be lied to for this to work. So don't assume that the nurse is know what she doing. Nah, it's just certain situations where visual observation can be done. And I'm going to show you here on the SF-181 a form that you guys should know very well, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something on there. And I also have a friend that's a real estate guy, and he said that in real estate, they have the option to visually observe and write down the race of their clients. And when you understand that real estate that can be done, begs the question, was this being done during the redlining part of our history?
I'm sure.
This is the way that America was segregated. Okay, that's 181.
So you almost have to walk around with your new Social Security card.
No, you do not. You do not have to do that.
And whip it out, just to make sure that if you're in an institution.
You don't have to, but the thing that I will say to you is this. You want to maintain your whiteness whenever it is asked, whenever it is presented to you through form, and any situation that you think your race even matters. If they don't ask you, then you can assume that, well, if they don't ask you, then, you probably don't have to worry about it, but you've done it at the most official place that you can do it, okay, at the Social Security. If somebody runs your identity or your Social Security number, they're going to come back with a white. And so what happens is, because you've done it there, you have defended yourself against visual observation. Because what you can do is say, if somebody visually observed and got you mistakenly as a black, you can go and you can correct that. You can be like, I am not a black, I am a white, and you can do a background check if that's necessary. Because when they do a background check, they're going to come back white, for sure. I don't know why my SF-181 ain't loading here. Oh, hold on. Okay. The last sentence in the first paragraph. Providing this information is voluntary. It has no impact on your employment status. But in the instance, providing this information is voluntary and has no impact on your employment status. But in the instance of missing information, your employing agency will attempt to identify your race and ethnicity by visual observation. Okay? There are places where visual observation is allowed. This SF-181 is a government form. The guy that told me that he could do it was in real estate. And so, remember when I said earlier that the real narrative of racism in America is not the individual white person hating black people. It is a government-sponsored segregation based on who is the citizen and who is not. Now, tell me, you guys have lived in this country for 30 plus years. You know that the education on racism is how much white people get. But the facts, remember, duality, what they want you to know and what's really going on. The facts are that the government is the one that's segregating you, even though they want you to believe that individual white people hate you, and that's the reason why this country works the way it does. That's the myth that we gotta change. This is not about hating white people because white people did this to you. No, this is a government-sponsored segregation. And it's all in taking advantage of the status that you choose to stay in. I like to say it that way. That you choose to stay in. And I'm giving you a choice, a better one. Somebody say something.
Well, they got the government has gotten the participation of their group to cooperate, to promote the attitude to keep segregation going and keep the races separate and against the confusion and all.
Yeah, you just like this article said, you could be taught, even a pale skinned person in America can be taught that they're black. You have to understand that the attitudes of the people that you call white, the people that are perpetuating the system, these attitudes are not organic. These attitudes are being taught. And see, sports is a big thing in America because of fandom, right? Watch this. What happens as a race is you get caught up in what they call fandom. You roll hard for your team. Okay? And so racism really, when it comes down to it, is so tribal. It's almost like I'm the white team versus the black team. And I'm going to always pull for my team no matter what. Even if it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't make a difference. It's just I'm a fan of this team and I'm going to roll with my team. So when you talk about the attitudes of whites, I look at it as fanatics. They're fans of the supposed team that they were born to root for, and they root hard for that team. And when you really think about it, it's the same way for blacks. Blacks are fanatics. When you talk to blacks who don't want to give up their identity, they're fanatics about their identity. It's their team, and they're going to do everything that they can to root for their team, whether it makes sense or not. But that's got to break. It's fandom. You got to bring them back to their senses. You got to show them that black is not valuable in this society, and there's better choices to make.
What the government has done, and it's trickled down to the social aspect and how people are interacting. Mm-hmm. And when the government has convinced their group to participate and fully, and convince them that you shouldn't be poor, that's for another group. And when you find yourself poor, you feel like, well, this shouldn't be.
You're white.
So the fact that I am, I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I mean, on what was it, Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up, he was like, the only difference between
I was thinking about that.
White poor and black poor is that white poor feel like it's a mistake for them to be there, and black poor feel like this is the way it's supposed to be. That is a good example of how you can be taught your positions in this country. And so the biggest part is to re-educate. You said it earlier, Lori. A lot of this is taking information and things that you thought about a certain way all your life and looking at them totally different. And guess what? You're in a different position. So it might make sense to look at the world differently. You were in diminutio media. Now you in capitalist, now you in minimum. You got your citizenship. You are a citizen of this country now, and you should operate differently. You should be looking at the country differently. It should be dealing with you differently too. Identity is so important because not only does it change the way you interact in the world, but it changes the way the world interacts with you. These are two things that you can expect when you check white.
Okay, thank you for repeating that.
No problem, girl. Lori, I'm here. Look, I love your questions because you don't understand that people are listening to your questions. They got the same ones. And when I answer you, I'm answering them all for everybody. So your questions are valuable. Anybody else?
I wanted to say something actually right quick. I'm not taking it off tangent. There's a social media influencer that I follow, and I kind of observe how she operates. Now, looking at her, okay, visually speaking, she looks quote black, quote unquote, but obviously that's neither here nor there. But I see how like some of her, I guess, so-called black followers are following her, and they always seem to call her out on certain situations where she might say something that's kind of out of pocket in terms of like, they almost say like she's black when convenient.
Say it again? She's what? Say that again?
Black when convenient.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's jacked up, but I watch how she operates. She doesn't operate in the fashion of a operates as a white woman in white society. I don't think she realizes what she was doing. Not to say, like I said, because you remember, everybody has to be conned into it. Even those who are of influence that can make an impact, they also are conned into it. But I watch how she operates and I just observe her interactions with people. It's primarily those who are white citizens, if that makes sense.
Yep. I have said to you guys many times that the play is on us.
Right.
We have to change. Identity change. Checking white and understanding that you've changed, right? Is so important because we're asking you to change. We really are. We're asking you to change. We're asking you to approach the world differently. We are. We understand that black comes with a disposition, a certain attitude for the world when you accept that identity. And we're asking people to change the way that you see the world. And so watch this. You say that the young lady isn't caught up in this woke blackness and she's living, and some of her opinions don't necessarily go with the black status quo. See, we need people, to not be fans or a part of the black team. We need them to be individuals and don't need any party affiliation. Okay? So her opinion should be hers, and it shouldn't have to be weighed upon the black community. Like, should we accept them or not? That's baloney. All of this is baloney when you understand the truth.
Right.
And that's what's important about what we're saying to you guys. What is holding black people back? It's not white. They are not holding you back. You guys went down to the Social Security office. As a matter of fact, when you get in line and the person come, you would rather they be white. Why? Because they ain't gonna stop you from getting through.
Right.
What need to be checked? Black attitudes. This article say, what's holding blacks back? It's black attitudes, not white racism. That's the blame. We need to change our attitude. We need to change our identity. We need to change the way we approach this country, because we are approaching it like outcasts. We love to be minorities. We love blackness. That is an attitude that should be checked. You don't know what black is, so don't tell me black is beautiful. No, it's not. Do you know capitis diminutio media? Because that ain't beautiful. And guess what? You know it ain't beautiful because you screaming about racism, and so you can't like the position.
Exactly.
So stop glorifying this obvious loss. I like to say, you love black, then you glorifying the loss. I don't do that. A loss is a loss is a loss to me. I ain't gonna glorify it and try to make it beautiful.
Exactly.
Vigilante, can you put that link in the chat?
Sure.
What's holding blacks back? That one there.
Yeah, definitely. I was also gonna do I also have another update on, at least on my experience. I had that same recruiter who tried to hit me up before June, hit me back up again. And it's almost like he's really trying to almost like he's not even really like giving me an interview. It's almost like he's trying to offer me a position and for me to take it. It's not in the same vein of I don't know what I'm putting it in the right terms, but it's almost like it's not even like he's really interviewing me. It's like more like, here is a job, here is an opportunity for you to make this much money. And so
he's giving you the job.
Practically, trying to give me the job. I'm like, okay.
This feels weird. This is weird.
Weirdest shit ever. Weirdest thing ever. Never had this happen to me before. But he literally tried at least a couple other times. Literally, especially now that I'm contracted, now that I am a white citizen. Now it's like, he has been coming at me hard. And I will tell you this, compared to what I'm making right now, it would be literally 3 times what I'm making right now. Literally.
It sounds good
Wow.
And it's not even a management goal. That's the crazy part about it. It's not even a management goal, but the fact that it makes 3 times more than what I'm making right now, and I'm currently an entry level manager right now.
You
All I
prefer
can say is, why, lady?
you prefer it now. You are definitely preferred.
Why, lady?
Yeah, because he literally was like, I'm being very transparent with you. You do have competition. There is one other person that that I guess there was some kind of like a referral, and they're trying to bring him in, but it's like he's literally trying to push me into taking this position. I'm like, oh my god, I've never had that happen.
Push you into taking that bag.
Yeah, like, yo, take the bag. It's like, but he's doing almost like trying to be more formal about it, but it's the most hilarious thing right now. And I'm sitting up here like, I'm just like, I don't know how, I'm trying to understand it, but I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this right now.
That's what these white folks do. They be like, take this job, just take it. Why, lady? Take it. Remember that film Blazing Saddles? Where the white women at?
Yep.
I can resist, I'm sorry.
I see the white women right here. They on my
They're right
chat.
here. The white women are here.
So that happened literally on Thursday. So now he's like, literally like, he already emailed me like description and everything else, and it was like, he's like, I'm gonna try to set you up so that way you try to get in. Let me know by Monday. I'm like, okay.
Okay, did y'all see that I put that in the
Yeah, I see
chat?
it.
Okay.
Okay.
I see it.
Thank you.
All right. We got about 7 minutes. Another good class, you guys. Again, this is all about trying to prepare you for going out there and fighting for the truth. That's what this is all about. Fight for the truth. Know how to do it. Know what to say. Understand what the game is really about. You should be the only one in here like white people don't hate you. If anything, you need to change your status so this government can't continue to exploit you. That's really what this is about. And these are the ways that we
Even
got,
with housing,
especially with housing.
Especially with housing.
This right here, I'll put this in the chat too. But mapping the geography of racism, this is the reason. This is how they use real estate to create segregation. Should I put that in the chat for you, Lori?
yes. Thank you.
I'm doing it right now.
And can you put that link, Rick, the one you put prior, if you can put that in the chat as well? That would be great.
I'll put that one in there too.
Alright, thank you.
Did you learn it?
Yep.
When you showed the map of like the neighborhoods, it's really jumping out at me. That image is actually a cover of a book called and I think it deals with this too, dealing with racism regarding neighborhoods. It's called Color of Law.
Color of Law? I know that book well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now that I'm gonna see if I can find that book. But I think it does. I think that whole book is about that. It's called Color of Law.
Great book. And yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, this article talks about how real estate has been used, redlining and all that to create segregation. This is what I need you guys to understand too. Here we are in a situation in DC where we're gentrifying and people are resisting gentrification, but they don't want white people to move in their neighborhood. But the interesting thing about the way gentrification is working is that when white people, citizens, come into your neighborhood, they bring value. Back in the time where redlining was going on in Jim Crow, because blacks weren't citizens, they were devaluing neighborhoods if they were to move in. And so when the government sets parameters that people can move into your neighborhood and your property values drop, right? Is this a show of white people hating black people in their skin? Or is this more of a show that the biggest investment that I have in a lifetime is my house? And that if a group comes into my neighborhood and devalues my property, my biggest investment, I don't have to hate them to not want them to live with me. Okay? And so when I tell you that this racism and segregation was government sponsored, programs like this create attitudes for whites to have against blacks. If you come into my neighborhood and you drop my property value, now I have a reason to not want you around. And it has nothing to do with your skin color.
Yeah, but somehow it has translated to your appearance.
It definitely has translated. That's how the con survives. The con survives in the fact that you think that everything is associated with your skin color, and it's not. It's your status of black that is the reason why, not your skin color. This is a cleverly devised con. Because guess what? It's not because your skin is dark, but it is because you black. And so when you say that, it don't even really kind of make sense, but it does, because it's not about your skin color. It's about the fact that you black. See, black is status. Skin color is just a skin color, it's appearance. That's what we have to do. We have to teach people that it ain't about that. It says the biggest challenge for those, and even some of us in this group, to actually say that you are white despite that you have darker skin. That is, Tanisha, you are exactly correct. That biggest hurdle is to divorce ourselves from race and skin color. It is not the same.
Right.
Not the same.
Very much so.
That's it. That's where the lie and that's where the cleverness of everything is the fact that you believe your race is your skin color. When you can let people understand that is not one and the same, is when we win. When we winning.
And we show that by what we say and how did it transform you?
Well, the first thing is that
show differently.
Well, so when I try to diverse people from skin color, the first thing those are the reasons why I use etymology dictionary, etymology of black and white, and I show people that black is not God-given. That black and white are terms that were created in the 1600s. And so when you understand the beginning of the terms, you ask yourself, did you and your people begin in 1619, or do you have an older history than that? And if so, then your identity isn't black. Now, it might be something that you use in America. Let's get into that. Why do we use that term in America? What is the reason why? Right? And then when I showed you in this article here, these people were raised to identify as black. Are you one of them? I was. Did I believe that racism was a part of my DNA? Yes. Did I learn in history? Was I taught that was black as my history? Yes. So when we start to unpack the black identity and why we use it and why we hold on to it and why we think it's us, when we start to unpack that, that's how we can educate people as to the misconceptions and the cons associated with it. If you can't be born it, then the question is, how do you become it? If people start to find out that if racism, black is the worst thing to be in a racist society, and people start to figure out, well, did you know you even had a choice? They'd be like, what do you mean? There ain't no choice. My skin dark, everybody know I'm black. Nah, not really. When you start to see all the Arabs all the Middle Eastern people in this country that you see, and you think they black, and they don't check black, they check white. Or you see some of these Hispanics that you live with, and you think that they checking Hispanic or Latin and they hitting white, then you start to understand that it's bigger than what you think. There's more to it.
Like this. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go.
No, there was a gentleman by the name, I don't know, you probably might have heard of him, Mustafa Hefni.
Okay.
Mustafa Hefni, basically he was an Egyptian immigrant.
Oh yeah. They told him, they was like, dude, do not check black, check white. You're going to regret it. And he did not understand. Yes. Why was these white people telling him, you ain't black, you don't have to check that? I know exactly the story. You should pull that story up and you should put that. You have permission to add that to the community.
Yeah, and there's even some video, as a matter of fact, like you hear him talking about like, well, I am a black Egyptian, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, no.
You don't get it. He North African, mean you white. So look, You have
It
permission.
even says it on the SF-181 form even.
You have permission to add that to the group community. You can add an article, video, anything about that.
Okay.
That'll be good for us to look at that, because this were white people
Yeah.
telling this dark skinned man, you do not have to check black. It is not
Yeah.
advantageous for you to do that here, and you should explore other options.
And they told him, if you do check black, you're gonna have a hard time, and he's been having a hard time ever since.
Yes, he
20
has.
plus years.
Okay.
30 years almost.
30 years.
Add
Exactly.
that. Add that to the community. They need that. Our community
Okay.
needs that. Yep.
And how do you show that on a personal level? How do you show the difference? How do you show that transformation?
You know
I
what?
think it's-
You know what, Lori? A lot of this, right? And you imparting this information to people. A lot of this it has everything to do with how you live your life.
Yes.
People know when you changed. If they know you and you changed, they're gonna know you changed. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of this is not gonna be you trying to convince them that I'm different. They're going to be asking you, what is different about you? You are treating the world differently, and I'm want to know why. Okay?
I see it in Tanisha. She do it complete. I've been knowing Tanisha for a while. We've been having powwows, Tanisha, don't we? Late at night powwows. I swear. We just had one last night. I mean, I've been knowing her. She's like, I was one of the first people she friended in New York, and I'm telling you, I've seen the change in her, especially her doing this. She changed.
Now you think
The fact that this guy's giving her a job,
right?
that has never happened with Tanisha.
Now you think the people who know you, right? Who know
Right.
you aren't going to notice that you're different, that you got a new lease on life, that you smiling a lot more, that you ain't talking about how much you hate white people, how you embracing everything. You're going to change. And see, you shouldn't maybe be talking to nobody about it until you actually have your whole transformation. Because people are going to sometimes listen more to your body language and your attitude towards the information than the facts. And that's what we need to understand about people.
Okay. And I can even remember as when I was very young, and I used to get this a lot in kindergarten, and the kids would be like, why do you talk so proper? I used to get that a lot when I was in kindergarten, because because I really didn't fit in with the quote so-called black kids, because I wasn't down enough. But then I wasn't, so it's almost kind of like that weird biracial, that whole misnomer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of, I was going through that. And I think I spent a lot of my young years, and even in my teen years, that I feel like there was like this pushback I had within myself, but then versus my family and society and everything else. And I feel like I've been fighting this for a very long time. And then at one point, I think it was in like the last 6-7 years, I began to start embracing black at that point. I just was like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore.
You ain't got no choice. Look, you in America, there ain't no choices.
Right.
It's not like I can't. What else am I going to embrace? No, I get it.
Yeah. And it was like literally, I had been fighting this for so long, and it was just
So many dark-skinned people are pigeonholed into this blackness. Okay, so many dark-skinned people have so many different experiences in the world, so many different education levels, so many different things going on. Yet they're supposed to fit in the black box, right?
And I simply didn't.
No,
and I still don't.
it is a misconception and a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you don't fulfill your purpose and you turn around and instead of fulfilling your purpose, you fit into the black box. That is a travesty. That's a travesty, that you don't fulfill your purpose because you got to fit into a black box. And so what happens is, the more information about what the black identity is through our media, it more tells you what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to play out, what your position in the society is, and then you end up playing that role. And so we have to divorce ourselves, our skin, from the racial category, because now we're not pigeonholed into what we have to be for this society to work the way it is.
True. You're absolutely right about that. That's why I said it's like the fact that this information, I'm like, so I was like, okay, so everything that I was kind of pushing back for 3+ decades, it's like, okay, so it wasn't in vain after all.
No, you're not black. You never was. You never was black, and you didn't feel like you was black then, and you felt like you had to conform to something then,
Right.
and now you find out that I never was that. And guess what? In whiteness, I don't have no parameters. The only thing about white that is supposed to be that they supposed to do is hate black. Other than that, they can be anything they want to be. And so I'm
Right.
telling you, guess what? Be white, be whoever you want to be in life, fulfill your purpose, and then and you don't have to hate black people. You don't have to. I tell you one thing though, I would like a country that didn't have a exploited population, that we wouldn't have to deal with this racism. And so I don't like black people either, because I think we could have a better society without it.
Personally, in my opinion, and this is just my personal observation, I feel like it goes even beyond just that. I feel it's more of a metaphysical transformation too. There's an energy
Yes.
that's there.
Yes. Now that I can't exactly put into words. I just know that I've lived it, and the best way I can say it is that it changes the way the world. I expect that the world to treat me differently, and I live a life of a different approach to the world. And so those are just the small things that I can say
Gotcha.
for myself.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's like I know myself. I used to have a very heavy energy. I don't have that anymore. That anger that was once inside me has died.
You can love now all the way. You can love now. This to me, this was an opportunity to say, now I can love my neighbor and not have to feel some type of way because I can see their skin color. See, it works both ways. You know, you expect racism because you dark skinned, but then at the same time, you also expect them to have a certain disposition towards you because of their skin color. I don't deal with none of that no more. I don't deal with no expecting them to have, you know what, I expect them to treat me like a human. And guess what? More times than not, they do. The only thing I expect is black people to want to continue to be black, but we're going to change that.
Right.
We're going to change that. With help from Naraya, we're going to change that.
Definitely, for sure.
All of y'all are going to help this, man. Y'all are the future leaders. You know, there was a point where, you know, Dr. King was sitting in private meetings with people, and they were figuring out the way that they were going to attack racism. And some of these, you know, people that was in these small rooms become the leaders of tomorrow. And at the time, they were nobodies. Nobody knew them. So right now, nobody know who we are. Nobody know we meeting every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for 2 hours. But what's going to happen is when we leading those, when Tanisha personally got 250 people that she taught this, and they went to, and then Naraya got 1,000, and then Lori with all of her excellent questions, people are turning white just because they listening to Lori questions, then y'all are going to be the catalyst for changing the world. That's what this is about. I believe we can do it. I wouldn't be doing all of this if I didn't think it was possible. And I'm selfish and feeling like that the change can happen in my lifetime. I'm selfish because I want to be able to experience the America that I know we can be sooner than later.
Right.
It's 12:10. That we can make it quick. Look, how easy was it for you to get your citizenship? Wasn't it quick and easy?
Super.
Did it cost you anything?
No.
Do you have any excuse for not going through with it?
No excuses. I have no regrets.
All right, no excuses, no regrets. That's what I'm talking about. Miss Lindsay, are you regretful?
Oh no. I'm having tea and crumpets right about now.
All right, so I guess we're doing something right then. All right. Well, we done went 10 minutes past our time, y'all. So I gotta let y'all go.